All right, this is probably the dumbest thing I've I've ever done in my life, or it's up there. I'm not even sure if I've got the usually every time before that I've done any kind of a live video, I've posted to YouTube. But here I'm going to Twitter and Facebook and not YouTube, taking advantage of this new pro StreamYard software I've got that that lets me go to multiple sources at the same time. So a couple of things up front, which I tell my classes every day, is if the audio messes up and you can leave a comment, let me know, because I've worked on my audio system a little bit. It used to just fuzz out every few minutes, and now now I don't know when it messes up. So it's been the bedevilment of our podcasting and our videos for years, the audio system. But anyway, all right. So this is probably the dumbest thing I've ever done. I don't know if you can leave comments or not, but if you can, you certainly are welcome to. What I'm going to do is, just for all of our entertainment and my humiliation, because we're all bored, I'm just going to spend about 30 minutes here this morning. I might do another 30 minutes this afternoon for people that didn't get to see it, want to interact live. Just showing how I work on a novel, and kind of from the very beginning. And the fun part is I have no idea about this one. I've probably got 3 or 4 novels kind of in the works right now. The first one obviously is Miami Heist. I'm desperately trying to get that one finished. I just kind of bogged down in it. I've got a great big military space opera thing I want to do for Bayan, maybe try to get into that market a little bit. And I've got a couple of things coming up in the future. But this is one that John, my partner on the Wishbone and other shows, John Ringer and I have just bounced around a very little bit over the last couple of years, where I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm just going to start working on it. I'll let you figure it out. See if you can figure out where I'm going with this thing. So let's go ahead and bring up the desktop. Whoa. All right. We got the dreaded blank page that we were looking at here, where the thing that terrifies even the hardiest of writers, right? The dreaded blank page. And I am not intimidated by you, blank page. I scoff at you. The blank page for me is over here. For you, it's, I think, over there. But for me, it's on this screen. I am not intimidated by you, blank page. You do not scare me in the least, because I love the blank page. It is the canvas upon which writers get to paint. And I don't think that artists are scared of their canvas, are they? Why should I be afraid of you, blank page? So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. There's a gigantic audio system. Make it smaller so I can actually, in fact, let's change. Bear with me for just 1 second. I'm going to change around. I'm going to share a different screen, and this is going to go crazy, I know. Whoa, down the rabbit hole. That's because I want to move. Well, is that going to work? No, I guess I'm going to have to do it on this screen. All right, hold on. I just wanted to see what was possible, and it's not. So I'll just have to work on the other screen. This is going to be a little awkward. I'll do better in the afternoon version. It's just my microphone is right here in the way of that screen, but good comment from Paulo. In the news biz, nothing like a deadline to turn the dreaded blank page into a smorgasbord of words that somehow resemble a coherent sentence. Amen. I don't have a lot of deadlines. That's one of the things about being a writer that kind of has his own, is his own boss in that area. I think if writing for me became something that was critical to my survival, I don't think I would want to do it. It's what I love about it is that it's fun. And that I don't have that pressure. I really hate pressure. So what I've done for this story is I've gone ahead and thought a little bit about it in advance, kind of like in the shower thinking about it type of deal. And, but not a whole lot. And I did go ahead and come up with some placeholder names. These names are, of course, subject to change. They are just names I'm going to use for now. And that is always the case. Let me scroll up here. I just jotted, this is all I've jotted down so far is 8 names. You'll see why there's 8 in pairs. Guys, girls, okay. I put down point of view because one of the first things you have to decide in writing a novel is what point of view it's coming from, who's telling this story. And if because here are the limitations real quick. If you do first person, and there have been a number of very successful and famous first person stories. Certainly some of my favorite books are first person. All of Rogers Lasney's Amber books are from the first person perspective of Corwin or Merlin. And Ready Player One is from the first person perspective of Parzival. So, whereas the movie was much more, you got some time with Artemis, you got some time with Daito and Shoto and H, it spread it around. So the good thing about first person is you can be very intimate inside the head of that one character, and the reader knows everything they know. The downside to first person is the reader cannot know anything that the main character doesn't know, and you can never leave the main character. I've always said a first person story becomes a travelogue. By necessity, it becomes a travelogue because it's I went here and I did this and I fought this person and I did this and then I went over here, right? Think about Ready Player One, right? Here, I'm going to tell you the story of how I won the contest and did all this. And, Amber, the great thing about Amber is that not only is Corwin the narrator, but he's an unreliable narrator. He tells you stuff that you later go, I don't know if he was telling the truth about that. So that's a neat little trick. But here's the thing. Think about in so many third-person stories, you can get the cutaway to, meanwhile, at the villain's lair. Here's the villains all sitting around doing their evil thing. Little does the hero know that what's going on in the villain's lair. And so you can't do that in first person, right? Like if Star Wars was entirely first person from Luke's point of view, then it would open with Luke on Tatooine. You wouldn't get the Star Destroyer capturing the rebel ship. You wouldn't get Darth Vader and his troops killing all the one-time stormtroopers were ever scary before they quit being scary. It would start with Luke and you wouldn't get the great scene where, Darth Vader is force choking the guy on the Death Star and Grand Moff Tarkin telling him to stop, because that is the classic meanwhile at the villain's lair scene, and you don't get that in first person. So I'm thinking, you get the idea. So I'm thinking for this story, this is going to be third person limited. That's kind of what's in the vogue, these days, is that third person limited where you can move from point of view character to point of view character, but usually it has to be in different scenes. Some writers get away with changing the point of view character inside the same scene if they know what they're doing. Certainly Patrick O'Brien does it all the time. J.R.R. Tolkien does it all the time. But, if you're not confident in what you're doing, critics will say you're head hopping. You're just randomly changing point of view, and that's not good, But I have an issue with that because that gets back to everybody has to write exactly the same way. And I vehemently reject the idea that everybody has to write exactly the same way. Oh, the arguments I've had on sci-fi panels at conventions with editors about this. Writers are usually on my side. Editors are usually against me on this, but oh well, it's not the first time editors have been against me, so or will be the last. That's their job, right? Their job is to try to enforce what they think is the way you're supposed to do your job and keep you from messing up, and I get that. All right, so we're going to say first person is going to be third, limited. So just to kind of know up front what's going on, my dramatis personae, in other words, my list of characters here, I've got Jason and Ben, Lisa and Jen, so my sister gets a name check, my nephew gets a name check, Alex and Sean, and Anton and Tori Victoria. Got to have the villains, but we're not going to worry about them yet because our villains in this story, I'm thinking, are going to be faceless for a while. They really don't get the villains aren't going to show up as actual. Yeah, Paolo makes a good point. I got to show you this one. Editors are always clueless unless I'm the editor. Well, that's true about a lot of things, Paolo. So I'm going to say that the villains will be faceless for now, so we're not going to worry about them. And then the two things I'm going to work on right quick, again, just for fun, and I may do a terrible job. let's go, are the action opening and then how you go into the fill-in flashbacks. That's something I'm very big on, right? I'm a huge proponent, and this is something that comes out of the pulp style that I like to think that I write in, more or less. You know, the pulp style is action, 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 go, 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 never leave people bored. And I'm also, within the pulp community, I have the reputation of being particularly fast-paced. So, and I value that. I cherish that reputation as something that that is, it means it's working, right? It means that it's what I've been trying to do is succeeding. So, all right. So again, this is not going to be my best writing because I'm doing it in front of all you people, and I'm conscious of that. I'm just making a little indent so I don't have to indent every time. I'm going to do like, I'll go back and rewrite this several times later. You're just going to see my very, very raw prose. Okay. So I know I want to open this story in action. Things are happening, but I kind of have an idea of where and how. And again, I want to see if this rings any bells for anybody, and if you kind of get a sense of what I'm going for here, both in terms of where it's set and in where I'm going with it. Okay. I have a big stack of papers here. They're in my way. All right. It's going to be hard to type over there with a keyboard over here, but I'll do the best I can. All right. So we're going to say, we're going to open up with, let's say Jason. So the shrilling of the alarm drove Jason out of a particularly deep and dreamless sleep. Okay, so you got a bang, something's going on, something's driving him, something's waking him up. Where is he? What's going on? He rolled over and flailed one arm out wildly, reaching for whatever alarm clock might be sitting next to his bed and disturbing his rest. I just set the dang. Why did it not? It's not giving me my boom. There we go. Okay. I needed my paragraphs. Okay. I hope there's anybody out there paying any attention at all, because this is roll up my sleeves a little bit. All right. Okay, so he rolled over, flails out one arm wildly, reaching for whatever alarm clock might be sitting next to his bed, disturbing his rest. His hand searched and searched, but could find no alarm clock. How about, let's say, but could find no nightstand, much less an alarm clock. Meanwhile, the alarm continued to scream, now louder than before. Scroll a little bit here. Reluctantly, he forced his eyes open. And was rewarded for this action by being nearly blinded by the lights that now flared brightly, filling the room around him with. We'll leave it. Well, I'll smooth that sentence out. That's a little rough, but we'll get to it. He reached again to the side of the bed where he normally kept his alarm. I don't know if they have alarm clocks in this where this is happening or when, but we'll say for now we can replace it with whatever device is appropriate later. Again, this is just to get things going, right? He reached again to the side of the bed where he normally kept his alarm clock, but his hand passed only through empty air. The alarm was nearly deafening now. He sat up and looked around, shielding his eyes from the fierce glare with one hand. Okay, again, you have to think where you're going with it. You have to think, how is this time to introduce? Yeah, okay. The first thing he noticed was that he was not alone. He lay in a narrow single bed in a small gray walled room, small plainly decorated gray walled room, and another bed just like it sat a short distance to his left. On that bed, another figure was rising, looking about as annoyed by the still shrieking, learn how to spell, Van, alarm, as he felt, looking about as annoyed by the still shrieking alarm as he felt. Okay? Who the hell was that? And for that matter, where was he? The instant the other figure sat up, as well, and I may have used that before. Again, these are things. One of the things that you fix in rewrites is when you use the same words or phrase multiple times too close together, right? A big part of writing is what we call elegant substitution, where you try to use different words for the same general ideas if you have to repeat those ideas multiple times. Some writers try to be as vanilla and plain as possible, and I find that kind of annoying. Like they might use the same, like for example, just real quick, like Michael Crichton. I love Michael Crichton's plots. I like his characters, but his prose writing is usually the most vanilla. It's like it always looks like he's trying to write a screenplay and just kind of fleshes out a slight bit. I think that, if you read Stephen King's On Writing, he makes the point that you really want to minimize the literary flourishes. You really want to just minimize. There's the old famous rule about don't use adverbs almost at all. And then, of course, the Strunk and White famous admission, omit needless words. One of the greatest sentences in the English language is omit needless words, right? But on the other hand, I think that a little bit, it's very much like throwing cayenne pepper into your chili or your jambalaya. It's like if you put too much, all people notice is the spice. And there's going to be people like my wife or my daughters that don't want a lot of spice at all. There'll be some people that like a little bit of spice, but hardly anybody wants 100% of the flavor to be the spice, right? It's by definition, it adds to it. It doesn't. It's supposed to add to it. It's not supposed to replace it. if all you want is a spice, drink a bottle of Tabasco, or just take the cayenne pepper and go, you don't want that to be the only thing you're getting. So, but again, I like a little bit. So you have to develop a sense of what's not enough. And then you're Michael Crichton to me. Again, I like his stories. And I read his books. A lot of them are really good, but man, some of them are bland. The timeline. Oh God, Timeline was like reading his rejected screenplay for a movie that they then made after the book was a success. Oh, now we'll film it. But on the other hand, you don't want to, just seem like a complete incompetent rookie that doesn't know when to stop, right? There's a happy medium in there. So, okay. So, again, these are things that you smooth out and correct in the second draft, in the third draft, which this is definitely going to need. I'm not thrilled at all, but I'm happy enough with this to continue, at least if you're trying to wonder what's going on. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because I'm wanting this particular book. One of the things, when I start a new book, I often have things in mind that are inspirational for it. That way I know kind of where I'm going, what I'm aiming for. And I don't want to hit it exactly, but it's like they're guideposts along the way. So like, for example, when I wrote Lucian, I was thinking in terms of, Corwin and Amber and those immortals and all that. But I was also thinking in terms of Jack Kirby and his Asgardian gods in the comics, Thor and Loki and all that. I had a lot of those kind of guideposts along the way. I was also thinking in terms of murder mysteries and all that. I was trying to, a lot of my writing is taking a lot of different things I really like and kind of blending them together into a new cocktail. I think that's what a lot of people's writing are, and so the guideposts for, when I wrote the Sentinels, you're thinking, what did the Avengers do? What did the Fantastic Four do? What did the X-Men do? What did the Justice League do? How can I do something that is evocative of that, but is original and different, And so for this, I'm not going to tell you what, in terms of story, what my inspiration is, but in terms of approach to the narrative, I've been reading a lot of Stephen King, and what I'm wanting to do with the narrative here is give you almost granular detail so that you feel like you're in the room, these characters, you really get to know them and care about them. And that's very much a Stephen King approach, right? So I'm not going to tell you, I don't think this is really going to be based on or like copying or inspired by a particular Stephen King story. It's just his narrative approach is one of the things I'm going for here. Now, I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit because I want to give you a little more taste of where this is going after the guys get up and kind of they're going to have the briefest of exchanges before they're told they have to go. I'm making this up as I go along, but they have the briefest of exchanges. Hey, my name is, Jason, my name is whatever. And they have this very brief exchange, just enough to they know each other. And then they're kind of hustled out into the hall and down into sort of like a big, almost like a big cocktail lounge, like a bar restaurant area where there's all these various people in different outfits all sitting around, and they're all chatting. I've got 7 minutes left. Let's see if I can. And then they're spend a little bit of time there getting to know each other, trying to figure out what's going on. And then another alarm goes off, and the voice says, "All drivers to your cars. All drivers to your cars." And so they're going to look up. They're going to run outside. I have to fill all that in to make sense. And let's see, who is Jason's buddy here? Ben. So Jason and Ben. All right, let's say mystified. Jason and Ben followed the crowd out the now open double doors and into a broad concrete parking lot. And then again, flesh out. The other teams apparently were each rushing to a different vehicle. Again, this is very rough. I'll flesh it all out. I just want to get in my last 5 minutes here, give you an idea of where I'm going, okay? The other pairs were apparently rushing to a different vehicle. And there were all sorts. And there was, I'm changing this, and there was quite the variety, all sorts of cars and trucks and vans of every description imaginable. Yes, I did mean description. Thank you. And so, again, stuff happens. And finally, I'm deciding which one they go in. Let's put it this way. I know which one Lisa and Jen are going to get into. In fact, I'm going to change that to say Anna for now. I'll change that again. All right, so they see all these vehicles, and there before them sat a, again, I've got several to choose from here. I think for them, let's go, let's do it. A red Ferrari Boxer. Gleaming, glossy, red. The two guys exchanged glances, wide-eyed. They hesitated. Another pair approached, eyeing the car without any further delay. Jason and Ben popped open the doors and leapt inside. The keys were in the ignition. Jason stepped on the brakes and turned the key, and that big 12-cylinder engine roared to life. The red Ferrari peeled rubber out of the parking lot, falling into line along with the procession of every vehicle of seemingly every other vehicle known to man. All right, that's terrible, but you get the idea. I wonder if anybody knows where I'm going with this now. What's up? Well, all right. We're out of time. I said 30 minutes, and I got a class coming up. I hope you found that fun. We talked a little bit about point of view. We talked a little bit about character. We talked a little bit about structure. We talked a little bit about we did some actual composition. Yeah, I wrote. Let's see, how many words did I write? Oh, 708. Wow. Okay, for 30 minutes when I had no idea where I was going. So, all right, I'll come back this afternoon at 1 o'clock Central, and I'll work on something different. All right, maybe a little sci-fi or something like that. So, all right, gang, I hope that you got something out of this. I hope it's not completely humiliating. You're all gonna be like, man, he's a terrible writer. No, I know this is terrible. This is first draft, the top of my head, something I haven't plotted or outlined at all, but it just seemed like fun. So, okay, I'll see you guys later, and stay safe and stay healthy.